There are two different types of allergic reactions. Type 1 allergic reactions are the ones that most of us are familiar with that you go to an allergist for, and they're much more common. 10% of the population has that type of allergy. Type 1 allergies are internal, either something you breathe in, molds, pollens, weeds, dust, dog dander, or something you ingest, like foods or medications. When you go to the allergist, it's a pretty routine matter. Since we all eat pretty much the same Western diet, breathe pretty much the same air, we all get tested to pretty much the same stuff. So when you go into an allergist, they already know what they're going to test you to. The reactions are quick. They give you a sudden intense exposure with a pinprick on the forearm. They can read it the same day. The kind of symptoms you get from that kind of allergy are either respiratory symptoms like hay fever or asthma, or if it's going to come out in the skin, the allergen's coming in internally. It's circulating through the whole body. It's going to come out as hives that move all over the place. A welt may be on your leg. A few hours later, it may be on your arm instead. That's not what we're dealing with here, but that's what most people think of when they think of allergy. In contrast to that, what I'm going to be doing is type 4 allergy testing, or allergic contact dermatitis testing. Type 4 allergy, allergists have no training in. All dermatologists can test to a standard tray of ingredients, which back in the 1940s picked up about 80% of contact allergy. Today, just one look at a cosmetic and you realize how many ingredients are in it. It's a much more complicated world, and there's so many more things to become allergic to that nowadays that standard tray only picks up about 16% of allergic reactions. What's become customary then is for most dermatologists and allergists to refer to one person in a region who has specific expertise in this. The person who does this kind of testing has to keep an array of hundreds of allergens in stock, which is a tremendous cost. And you have to keep up to date on almost a daily basis of what's in every kind of product, what's used in every kind of occupation, every kind of exposure. Because of that, very few people are interested in doing this kind of work, and there's only a handful of us around the country who do this kind of work. Contact allergy refers to allergy that happens at the site of contact, like a poison ivy reaction. In the case of poison ivy, using that as an example, something comes in external contact with your skin, say on your legs, and the rash happens only at that site. One thing that makes contact allergy more complicated is that anybody who's had poison ivy will tell you that it does not happen the day of exposure. It happens 2 to 4 days later. Sometimes all of the above. Some of the areas will come out in 2 days, some in 3, some in 4. It'll give the illusion that poison ivy spreads, which it doesn't do. Clearly, though, if we put one allergen on your skin and we read it, we don't know whether that reaction is going to come out at 2, 3, or 4 days. So we need to do a couple of readings during the week, which also makes things more complicated. So therefore, we put the allergens on Monday. We read them on Wednesday and Friday. In the first visit, we have to do essentially detective work. We need to go through and find everything that has motive and opportunity in your lifestyle and find the specific allergens that are relevant to you. Once you and I decide together exactly what we need to test you to, that we're testing to all the right stuff, then our staff, and we have a very good staff that has been doing this for years, will squeeze out all the individual allergens. That will take about 20 minutes on average. After they have the allergens all prepared, they get taped to your back. We use the back because it's stable and the allergens will stay in place there for a couple of days. Once they're taped to your back, between Monday and Wednesday, you have to do all the common sense stuff necessary to keep something adhered to your skin. You have to move sort of cautiously and deliberately. Any sudden twisting or bending is going to pull the tape off. When you bend from the knees when you pick things up, as if you had a bad back. Avoid getting sweated up, and when you bathe, do so in a tub and keep your back dry. On Wednesday, when you come back, we have 4 things on the agenda, all of which are brief. Number 1, we need to make sure everything stayed in place so we know we're getting an accurate reading. Number 2, we remove the patches and they get discarded on Wednesday. Number 3, we put lines around where the allergens were with indelible marker on your back so we can do another reading on Friday and we know where everything was. And number 4, we do an initial reading on Wednesday 80% of the time, which is negative. Let me explain that. 20% of the time we find what we're looking for on Wednesday. 20% of the time people will be referred over and we won't find anything on them. The vast majority, 60%, are negative on their first reading on Wednesday, but something comes back positive after the tests are removed between Wednesday and Friday. If I do find something on Wednesday, please let me give you the short version. Wednesday's the one day we can get you in and out fairly quickly for your convenience. I'll tell you what it is you're allergic to so you're not dying with suspense, but I won't go into it in detail until Friday. Between Wednesday and Friday, you need to keep your back dry and sweat-free, because if those lines disappear, I'm not going to know what I'm looking at on Friday. You don't have to worry about moving anymore because the tape is off, so there's nothing to pull off anymore. The indelible ink we put on your back does occasionally come off on clothing, so you do need to make sure that you wear something inexpensive between Wednesday and Friday up against your skin. You can wear nicer clothes over the top. On Friday, if I found anything on either Wednesday or Friday's reading, I will tell you more than you really want to know about it on Friday. I'll tell you what you're allergic to, where you find it, how to avoid it, what alternatives are out there, and how to obtain them. I will draw out detailed, individualized handwritten notes that you can take with you when you leave. I tell everybody I'm a disgrace to the field of medicine. You can read my handwriting. So you'll leave with legible notes intact. Studies have shown that people do better after patch testing, that generally when we find results, they do get better. There's no guarantees, of course. Sometimes you will avoid what we find you allergic to and you won't improve, but in most cases you do. If you do improve, studies have shown that somewhere after 6 weeks after the patch testing, it's good to come back for a refresher course to make sure you really understand what you're to avoid, or otherwise the results sometimes diminish over time. In addition to that, after that follow-up visit, studies have shown that a refresher course about a year later is also useful. In general, if you do require follow-up care, this care will be provided by the doctor who referred you to us. That is, refills and follow-up appointments. However, whenever any questions come up regarding contact allergy, you're always free to contact us. If our staff can do anything, answer any questions this week, help in any way, please feel free to let us know, and we hope this will be a good experience for you. In a moment, we'll be going through your medical history. Unlike most visits, a lot of the things you normally would tell a doctor, like who you'd seen, what medicines you took, what made you better, what made you worse, are really not going to be on our agenda today. Today I'd like you to think about this for a few minutes and focus on what areas of the body are involved, and everything you can think of that comes into contact with those areas of the body. In that way we'll be able to together figure out exactly which things are relevant to test you to. Stay put for another moment and I'll be in with you shortly and we'll get started.